Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and here we are in the fallout of the Derby disappointment yesterday. Not only the Derby disappointment, the Derby disaster. Celtic, of course, 3-0 losers at Ibrox yesterday afternoon. It has left a bitter taste in the mouth of Celtic supporters, and rightly so. We're not going to ignore it. We're going to talk about it today. We're going to talk about the manager's reaction, the players' reaction, the fans' reaction, and where we go from here. However, if there was ever a way to cheer yourself up after such disappointment yesterday, then you might want to stay tuned to hear some of the news about Kieran Tierney, because it looks as though he's coming home. I'm not going to get my hopes up too high, but it's looking good. Let's talk about that. If you haven't already, please make sure to hit like and subscribe. It would be much appreciated. The support in 2024 was incredible. I'm hoping for more of the same in 2025. And granted, we're not off to a great start with yesterday's loss, but we're here and we're always here. And that's the job. We've got to come on and talk about Celtic, win, lose or draw. And sadly, after yesterday, it's defeat we have to talk about. So I hope we've all calmed down a bit. The comments section was a bit rowdy yesterday. But we're going to cover different aspects of that game, and obviously the good news that could be bringing Kieran Tierney back to Celtic Park. Listen, I don't want to dwell on it for too long. At the end of the day, I feel like it's going to be a divisive topic for the next couple of weeks, that defeat at Ibrox yesterday. It certainly was in my comment section. A lot of people who were looking at the defeat similar to the way I was looking at it, in the sense of, okay, we pick ourselves up, we move on, these things happen. A few others maybe going a completely different direction, going towards the sack Rodgers and that we're doomed side of things. I seen one fan in the comments section put me down as the biggest happy clapper on Celtic YouTube, which is, you know what, you're damned if you do, if you're damned if you don't. It was only a few years ago I was slaughtered for my abuse of Neil Lennon and the Celtic team. And it was me calling folk happy clappers. Now it's gone full 360. Listen, I don't look at myself as a happy clapper by any stretch of the imagination. Celtic's performance yesterday was nothing short of abysmal. It was unacceptable. You don't like seeing Celtic lose to Rangers in any fashion, let alone 3-0 to a second string Rangers side. But I've been through it, and I don't want to spend too long on it again today. It was a game that Rangers were just far more up for than us, that the manager got wrong, that the players didn't look as though they treated seriously. I don't know if it was complacency on our part, but we just didn't look like our usual selves. And Rangers, well, they took advantage of that. They blew us out the water. And now Brendan Rodgers, as big as his ego may be, will have a point to prove. Will have a job to do to bring back the faith of those who might have had it shaken yesterday at Ibrox. But I'm anything but a happy clapper. Look, listen, I criticise the performance. I criticise the manager's decisions, as baffling as they were. But I can do that while also appreciating the job that he has done and the position that we're in. We're 11 points clear at the top of the table. Listen, there was a cracking comment at the top of my video that was saying basically, look, if there's ever a time to lose, it's when you're 14 points clear. We're 11 points clear at the top of the table. Celtic lost 2 games in the calendar year of 2024, including European games. And if you expect me to come on here effing and blinding and saying that we should be getting rid of all of our players and the manager, you are in the wrong place. I am not a reactionary Celtic fan. I'm not a knee-jerk Celtic fan. I am a realistic and level-headed Celtic fan. And I do my job here calling it how it is. And yesterday was an embarrassment. But it doesn't call for the notebook to be ripped up, the tactics board to be thrown out, and everything at Celtic to be called into question. We have reached tremendous heights over the past year. And sometimes amongst those tremendous heights, you're going to feel the lowest of lows. And that happened yesterday. But luckily, I think we've got the right man at the helm of the club to bring us back up and take us in the right direction following that defeat, just like he did after the Dortmund game. So if you call me a happy clapper, fair enough, that is down to you. But listen, I was embarrassed from yesterday's performance. I was disappointed. But we move on, and I'm not going to let it annoy me for too long. Brendan Rodgers certainly wasn't happy with the performance. This was his comments to the BBC yesterday, saying it wasn't a very good performance. I thought we made too many mistakes, especially in the first half with the ball. They just invited pressure when we had no need. We started the game okay, first 3 or 4 minutes, but then we trapped ourselves in too many areas that we spoke before about not to do. So we give away the ball for the first goal, and the young guy finishes it well, and then from that 1-0, that gives him a lift in the game, gives the stadium a lift, and I just thought Rangers were the better team today. We lacked an edge in our game with the ball, and without the ball, it was very unlike us. So Brendan Rodgers certainly not happy with the aggression of Celtic in the game, certainly not happy with the amount of mistakes Celtic were making in the game, and we'll come on to his mistakes in a moment, but you know, that's one of the things the manager can't necessarily help. Look, if Liam Scales is going to pass the ball straight to a Rangers player, certainly not in the instructions for him to do that. There is a couple of players yesterday who I think will have to have a look at themselves, so I think that the Brendan Rodgers and the club will have to have a look at if they're good enough or not. But look, listen, the players were just as culpable for the disaster of a performance yesterday. But Rodgers doesn't get away with that. Absolutely not. One of the biggest problems in the game was the fact that the manager left a couple of players on the park beyond the half-time mark when they really should have been hooked. There was no, I think, excuse for Liam Scales, for Rio Hatate to still be on the park beyond half-time, and the manager is the one that has to change that, and he didn't. He got it wrong, and it was a terrible decision from him, one that he will need to hold up his hands about. He did comment on those decisions when asked about it. He said that he wanted to give the players the opportunity to see if they could get a reaction, and that is why he left it. It was in my mind to do that. We went for the extra 10 or 15 minutes and nothing happened. We started the second half okay, but after that we had to make the change. So Rodgers not really accepting the responsibility he should have, I would say, for that poor decision. I think that most Celtic fans seen that had to be made, but he's a man with his methods. He's very stubborn in his methods. And that's that. But it was a horrible mistake. It was a terrible mistake, and a couple of those players, the ones that I have just mentioned especially, had an all-time stinker yesterday at Ibrox. They just did not look fit for the occasion. So yeah, that's one that Rodgers will need to revisit in future should similar happen. As I said, I don't want to sit and talk about this game all day. We need to move on from it now, and we need to focus on the next game. We need to focus on picking ourselves up and winning on Sunday, which will be difficult. Don't get me wrong, especially with the players and the manager being under a microscope, but we need to get rid of the negativity that a lot of people are just, the same people saying that Rodgers is too stubborn. You need to remove your stubbornness as well. You can't be angry about this for too long. You can't be so down about it. Listen, we will lose to Rangers. It's happened before. It will happen again. It just happened in a horrible manner yesterday. And that's not me being an apologist for Brendan Rodgers. That's not me being someone who's just going to look over it as if nothing happened. I am bitterly disappointed, not to quote Neil Lennon there, on yesterday's game. But when I look at the bigger picture, I have every right to be a happy Celtic fan at the minute, and I will let the bigger picture dictate that, not a 90-minute performance which doesn't sum up our season. So, yeah, it's going to be difficult, but let's get the negativity out the way, and let's talk about something very positive, shall we? It looks ever more likely that Kieran Tierney will become a Celtic player maybe as soon as this January transfer window, which is absolutely massive. Huge news. And to be honest, I think because of yesterday's result, it doesn't feel as big as it should be. And maybe that's down to the fact it's been reported on for a while now as well. I think we've all maybe been expecting this over the past week. But this is absolutely massive. The day that Kieran Tierney returned to Celtic for me was always going to be a big one and should be treated as such. A lot of people not so excited because of injury records or whatnot. This is huge. This is as big as a homecoming you can get in this modern age of being a Celtic fan. And I, for one, am absolutely buzzing. One that I did have my doubts about leading up to a certain point, and I remember when we spoke about it in the summer, I wasn't overly excited about it, and I think it was just because he got injured at the Euros. But now, I can't wait. Now, it's one that is a no-brainer for me, and now it's one that I think that most Celtic fans are going to absolutely love. So let's dive into the details, shall we? Fabrizio Romano reported this morning that negotiations are underway for Kieran Tierney to return to Celtic from Arsenal. Discussions are taking place. The 27-year-old fullback is keen on the move as talks continue to reach a full agreement. That was then followed up a couple of hours later by Romano reporting that Celtic are confident that they will make this Kieran Tierney deal happen. Talks are well underway, as exclusively revealed earlier today. This is, of course, off the back of Stephen McGowan's reports a week or so ago saying that the wheels were in motion to try and make this happen. So it's happened very, very quickly. I said when McGowan reported it that I had a feeling this is finally it happening, that it's finally one that's believable. Stephen McGowan reported, of course, that it was going to be on a huge wage cut deal, going down from that £120,000 a week he finds himself on at Arsenal. But this is massive. This is absolutely huge, and I'm buzzing about it. Of course, Kieran Tierney's contract is up at the end of the season, which means he's now free to speak to clubs regarding a Bosman rule type transfer come the end of the campaign, where he would join in the summer. However, from the phrasing of Fabrizio Romano's tweets, I assume this is Celtic looking to get some sort of deal in place that means he arrives at the club now, that he's here from January till the end of time, and we don't need to wait until the summer. How that will be done, I don't know. They might try and organise a loan move from Arsenal till the end of the season. They might buy him altogether and pay a very cut price fee to bring him in 6 months early, or perhaps Arsenal cut ties of some way. I know there's a lot of money involved here, so it's not easy. You're talking about a man that's on £120,000 a week, but I do think that from the wording that we're hearing here, that Celtic are going to try and bring him in. There seems to be one big option on the table that he's considering right now, if you go off reports, and that's Celtic. We're not hearing much anywhere else. I don't want to get my heart broken on this. I don't want to get my hopes up too high and then something goes wrong with the wages and it all collapses and we all look like dicks. But I genuinely do believe that Kieran Tierney has one destination in mind, and that's home. Remember, this isn't just a move back to Celtic for Kieran Tierney. This is a move back home. And I genuinely think if Celtic can get the money right on this, it's the only thing he'll consider. He's always came across as a lad that appreciates that more than anything. You know, it's not just about money for Kieran Tierney. And at the end of the day, I struggle to believe that he would find a new contract in the summer that comes close to that £120,000 a week, even if a Premier League club snaps him up. I don't think it would be worth anything near the value of that current contract he's on. So I don't know how much we're talking here in the slash. I estimated that Celtic would maybe pay him around £50,000-60,000 a week top end. I don't know if anybody in England would be willing to pay any more than that anyway. So this is a huge chance for him to come home. It's a huge chance to do it while he's still in what most would regard prime years of a footballer's career. And it's a chance for him to come in and make a dent when Brendan Rodgers and Celtic are trying to get to the level that I think we all dream of, to challenge in Europe, to do better and bigger things on an international scale. Kieran Tierney can really be the front man of that. And this is just a huge opportunity for him. So it's all very, very exciting. And if you're not excited about it, you're just grumpy. I'm sorry, you're just so grumpy, because you should be buzzing about this. I've seen some fantastic stats this morning in regards to Kieran Tierney and the football that he's played since moving to Arsenal, because the narrative is that he's always injured, that he never gets to play, that his fitness record is terrible. And don't get me wrong, his injuries are of course of concern, right? They are of concern. But he's still playing at least 20 games a season every season, and that's like bottom end figures. You know, he's been playing some seasons 30, 35 games a season, and trust me, at Celtic Football Club, that is more than enough. We really only need him for the biggest of games, where that quality is desperately needed. See if he can't play against Ross County some week, and I mean that with all due respect to Ross County in the Scottish Premiership, but I'm sure we'll be fine with whoever our backup left back is. I'm sure we'll survive without Tierney for those games, just as we have for the last 6 years since he left. He's played an average of 35 games a season since leaving Celtic. There's 38 games in a league season. 35 is more than enough. And remember, this has been at Arsenal in the Premier League and Real Sociedad in the La Liga, the two biggest leagues in the world. I'm absolutely certain he will be fine here. And I know that we're all worried and we're all probably going to be waiting for that first injury at Celtic so that we can see the ones go, I told you so. Just leave it out. Enjoy it. He's coming home. Hopefully. Don't get your hopes up too high, right? So we'll wait and see what happens. There's going to be a lot of reporting on this, and we're just going to have to be patient. It's as simple as that. We're just going to have to be patient. I've not got a megaphone out quite yet. Right, I have spoke for far too long today, so I'm going to get out of your hair. Yeah, Tierney. I love it. See you all next time.